item is considered for approval at next week's meeting, kind of what you'll actually see in the plans, the different components within each plan that are consistent across all campuses. Jonathan will point out some of the specificity in those plans, but also the alignment that those plans will demonstrate to the board's North Star goal, the long-range goals, and then our annual results measures. So, Jonathan?
Madam President, Mr. Toscano, members of the board, thanks for the opportunity to briefly walk you through our plans. The first thing I wanted to make sure was super clear is that it's a lot of different plans, and in a lot of places they do them all separately, but in East Central it's one plan. So sometimes we call them our CG plans. That's our local name for how we go through a process of looking at our data, getting super clear, making great plans. So that's the continuous growth plans. For the state, they require a campus improvement plan, a SIP, and so this functions as our campus improvement plan. If a campus is ever required to make a plan because of performance for the state, they call it a targeted improvement plan. When we're working with the state, they do what they call the effective school framework. It's the practices that are highly impactful according to research. In addition to all that, there's also our community-based accountability system. So it's been a number of years now, and I know we even had board members and students on that committee that said, here are the main things we wanted to work on and report on to the community. And I know Brandon and his team published an annual report based on that. But all of those things are really encompassed in this one document. And so if a campus had to make a targeted improvement plan, we just grab this whole plan and we send that to the state, and it functions. So that way we don't have to do a redundancy. We don't have to keep making separate documents that are really similar. It's just one coherent plan. And of course, all of that is just to help us reach our goals. And so it's aligned to our board goals and our North Star goals. We'll show you some of that alignment as I go through the slides here. Looking at an improvement plan or a CG plan, you're going to see two big parts. When you first open it up, it's going to open up to what they call their needs assessment. So they looked through a bunch of data last year and said, what are the main things that were popping up for us? What are the things that we want to work on? And then the second part is really the improvement plan. And both of them are aligned to that community-based accountability system where it goes through the different pillars and those key questions that the community had asked. Here's the first page of a sample one. I'm going to walk you through a little bit of Salato's plan. It opens up, it says what their rating was last year, their distinctions, it's got their nice logo on it. The second section is that needs assessment. And so it'll have a big title there, Comprehensive Needs Assessment, that hits some of that key data that the campus looked at. And then what I wanted you to see at the top here is where it says engage well-rounded students. That's one of the main pillars. That's the first pillar that the community said, this is what we care about. So remember, our community-based system is intended to look at far more than just STAR scores. So we know the state system is mostly looking at state test scores, and then sometimes other things like SAT, ACT, or AP scores, but almost all of it is really that one-day testing event. And so this is just the first page of what Salato was looking at. And then they highlighted some of the key things that they saw in their needs. The next section of it takes their needs and they prioritize some key findings. So they call them priority problem statements. So if you wanted to see, hey, what are some of the things Salato thought that they wanted to work on, that section will kind of help you focus on, here's some areas that Salato identified to target. After the needs assessment, you get into the actual plan. It's organized around the goals, which the goals aren't like what you're probably thinking. It's really like, see your goal 1, it says engaged, well-rounded students. Again, that's from our community-based system. Our first goal is around engaged, well-rounded students. And I think our third one is around teaching and learning. And so it kind of follows that same cadence. And then there were a series of key questions that the community asked. So each of those key questions show up. So for example, the first one was, to what degree are students engaged in our school and in our community? And so within that one, you'll usually see like our attendance goal is linked to that one in terms of, that's one of our main metrics we use. You guys adopted the district goal, I believe, was it last month? Around the district goals, and then the campus improvement plans have those campus goals embedded in alignment to it. The last thing you'll see down here is the initial status, and so it gives you a sense of how much it was prioritized in their work. And so you'll see frequently the academic work is where they're making the biggest changes and the biggest emphasis, so it'll say things like major change. The minor change are still substantive changes, and then if it's not super important, if it's not like the area of focus, it might say like maintaining or things like that. But most of the time, you're going to see some level of indication of how much that's an area of focus within their work. Obviously, if it's in their plan, it's an important part of their work. But that way you can kind of prioritize it a little bit better. Okay, so looking at the improvement plan, there's kind of four big things that I'm going to highlight for you. So the system response, right here's the first thing. It's like the big idea of how they're responding. The evidence of success is the annual result measurement. So those are the goals that you guys adopted. So in this example, Solado has a goal around getting their attendance to 95.3% for the year. So 95.3%. So that's their evidence of success that shows up. You'll see if they linked any problem statements from the needs assessment. So if they said that there was a problem with attendance, you'll see it linked here, and it'll go back to that priority problem statement number 1 that they had. And then down at the bottom in the screenshot is the strategy. So this is more specificity around what exactly is the campus doing to achieve that goal. And so theirs was around having an attendance committee that was going to establish incentives throughout the year. And so that's one of their main activities that they're going to be doing. I'm going to lift out 3 examples from Solado's plan. I'm going to name them here, and then I'm going to show you what they look like in the plan, so it's a little bit more familiar. So if you want to look through the documents, it's a little quicker to kind of know what you're looking at. So that first one around attendance committees, we're going to look at that in detail. There's one around campus management plans to improve their behavior systems. Again, that was one of our annual result measurements. And then they're using vertical teams at Solado to raise their student achievement, which again, they set a goal specifically around achieving at a certain level. Okay, so I took a couple screenshots and tried to put them together into one screen to show what it looks like. What I want you to see is the system response we talked about here at the top. The evidence of success, which was our arm, is right here. So that was the goal that they adopted. And then throughout the year, you're going to see if they're on track, like Mr. Toscano said, he's going to show up in these boxes. So at the end of the first 9 weeks, we're going to report here how they did on the goal. And then mid-year, around January, they're going to report here, and then March, and then at the end of the year, they'll have a did we make the goal or not. And so you can kind of see throughout the year, are we on track? Are we likely to make the intended effect or not? Down here, you'll see that strategy that we were talking about. And then I want you to just see that they have some specificity around it. I'm not going to read it all to you, but they have some key dates, some key tasks that they're working on, who's responsible for it. That way, they can have regular in their meetings a cadence of how are we doing. So typically the ILT, that leadership team, meets and they're reviewing and saying, what's the progress look like? What changes do we need to make so that all year long we can keep iterating and changing and make sure that we're achieving the effect. So that at the end of the year they'll reach that new attendance goal that they have. The second example was around material implementation of our behavior systems. I want you to see over here that we have that goal, the annual result measurement around behavior systems. Right there, expected outcomes. Coming down here, you can see some specificity around what the strategy is. And then again, it follows about who's responsible. So it's the assistant principal. And then here's some key dates that are coming up about what that one looks like. Okay, third example from Solado. This one is around how they're going to get to their student achievement goal. And so here's their goal right there. So they're going to get to a domain 1 score of 48, which is 75% approaches, 50% meets, 20% masters. And then they have 7 strategies. This is their 7th strategy to help get to that goal. And so strategy number 7 was around that vertical team that they're working on. And again, there's a little bit of specificity and some key dates that help them kind of monitor their progress towards that. My last slide, I just wanted to hold up. There are other things that you'll see in plans. So like 3 of them that I saw that was fairly common. The first one was around something like internalizing your high quality instruction materials. Other plans that sounded really similar to that were around like doing a lesson rehearsal so that every week in their planning, they were practicing the lessons from their resource, their high quality instruction materials. Some of them talked about PLCs, which is our fancy way of saying professional learning communities. That's when the teachers get together and they might be practicing their high quality instruction materials, doing lesson rehearsal. Other ones talked about doing a standard study so that every week they understood exactly what they wanted kids to learn that week. And typically that's done by the PLC while we're rehearsing it, looking at the resources. So those 3 or 4 ideas are pretty common, and you'll see that in a lot of our plans. Another big rock that you'll see in a lot of plans, and it's by design that you're seeing these because they align our strategy on the page. So on strategy on the page, we talked about data-driven instruction using our data dashboard. And so you'll see a lot of campuses really focused on, hey, what does that look like? How are we getting the data? So the leaders look at it and our teachers look at it and getting targeted lists of students so that we know exactly who to work with in order to get to the results we're looking for. The last one I wanted to hold up was around our work with communities and schools. And so we did targeted lists. So our team worked with Shane and John and their teams, getting targeted lists of students. So before they become chronically absent, we know that we've struggled with attendance and that we've got kids who, it's not so much that we have a lot of kids with low attendance, but it's more that we have some with lots of days absent, if that makes sense, those chronically absent. So we're trying to partner with communities and schools to work with kids before they become chronically absent. And so that's a common one you'll see around that attendance goal. That's really quick. I know running through everything, forgive me. I could probably talk for like 20 hours on the topic. Are there any questions, anything I can clarify about our improvement plans?
I was just going through it earlier. It's intriguing. I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
To be clear, Jonathan, each campus is exact like that? It's just different and follows that exact same structure?
Yes, sir. So you'll see that's kind of the format there, and then you'll see system responses, evidence of success. Like you'll see that same. They're kind of prompts in the program we use to play with them, and they make a nice little PDF out of it. I think they range. A lot of them are probably 30 to 40 pages when you look at the whole document. So that first part will be the needs assessment, and then you probably want to focus on the second half of it, where you'll see those kind of starting with that first goal. But so the structure is the same. The content is unique to whatever each campus created. But I do think that you'll probably see something about those 3 at a lot of the campuses by design.
I do have one. It says on the reviews where it's November and January. It'll be, obviously y'all will bring it to the board, but it'll be populated as well.
Yes, sir. Those boxes are populated.
How would we see this? Would it be on the board hub, or is it going to be?
That's a great question.
Yeah, so that is a great question. And what we're working on right now is creating a data dashboard that we would include in the hub. So we're one of our strategies on the page is to create a really simplistic data dashboard that gives everybody a line of sight into the progress we're making as a system, but also at every individual school on all towards achieving all the goals that the board has set forward. So we want to adapt that in a way that is on the board hub, but also visible to all of us who are working on the work. So right now, like in the hub, we've got the serious misbehavior data, we've got the attendance data, but we're working on ways to guess for lack of a better word, simplify but yet make more, I mean, if you think about the term dashboard, right? Like how can we see, progress towards the goal in real time happening in one place for all of the goals that we've set forward, so that we can all see in real time, all the time, really quickly, which was something also that Civic Solutions in the work session kind of talked about with us is, to what degree does the board, as a team have access to in real time, the progress we're making as of this moment towards achieving the goals that are the most prioritized by the board, right? So we're going to work on creating something like that, so you don't have to dig for it. It exists, under the hood, but how do we make it more outward facing, certainly for the board, in a snapshot, where you don't have to dig through 45 pages for each campus, right? Or you don't have to wait for the regular meeting at the end of every month to hear the update. You can see all along the way in real time. So we'll work on that and put something together and then adapt it over time to meet the needs of the board. And I think the hub is the best location for that.
I wonder if that scorecard we used to do could be slightly adapted just to have the key areas with the numbers and you put it in the hub. And we can
Yeah, we've looked at several examples too of what could be possible. And of course, we've got a lot of data that's live and that we're working off of. So we just need to refine that into something concise that gets to the bottom line for the board. Without them having to mine through several data reports for one item, just like what's the bottom line right now, so that they can monitor that and also ask questions along the way before between meetings and that sort of thing.
Yeah, a little direction, Joe, I like what you said. So kind of the key points that we're kind of asking or seeking. I don't know that we have to have every little bit, but definitely the more things that are, I don't want to say important because they're all important, but I guess that are really focused, right? And everybody has a different focus. So I don't know that we have to have every little bit of detail, but maybe the major ones.
But with the idea that
You
for
could
any
research.
of those,
Yeah,
yeah. So your check engine light comes on. If you want to dig deeper, you can go get get the whole report.
Right.
So it's all accessible, but at a snapshot, is there anything red, yellow, or green right now that we want to know more about, or that we should? Obviously, it's red. Like there should be an ability to quickly explain what we think the root cause is and what adjustments we're making. Right?
Yeah, because we don't determine the how.
That's right.
We tell y'all the
That's
what,
right.
what we're looking for, what we're
That's
hearing.
right.
Y'all determine the how you're gonna
That's
do
right.
it, so we don't really need to know all that. It's good to see it if we wanted to,
That's right.
but bottom line, we just need to know the end.
Yeah. Are we tracking? Are we not? And what are we doing about it?
That's it.
Yeah. In real time, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Noted. We'll work on bringing something forward and then iterate it from there.
And we're gonna make a 20-hour meeting for you. We're gonna schedule that 20 hours.
Yeah, I wanna see.
Swap the whole time.
I will not be here.
I will not be here tonight.
Let me know. Let me know when.
I love it. I will say on the updates that we do get on the board hub, I appreciate that. I know it takes extra effort and all that, but that opportunity just to read through those and some of those things, and it gets me thinking and seeing things. So I appreciate all the hard work that's been put into that, and I think as we go, I think it's just going to be better.
Good worksheet.
Awesome. Thanks, sir.
Item 5.2, discussion of September SB 13 procurement list for library materials.
So, trustees, you recall we've had a couple of different conversations about Senate Bill 13 and library materials. And so what we're doing tonight is going to bring forward for discussion the first procurement list. And so with us tonight, we have some of our lead librarian staff as well as Heather Burns, who works with our librarians across the system, to kind of show that document, but provide a high-level overview of kind of what went on to get to the place where we've got this document and what you would see included in the document. Remembering that the intent of Senate Bill 13 is really to make sure that things that we're adding to our libraries and things that we're removing from our libraries are appropriate and acceptable to the community, right? But tonight, I want to make sure that the board feels comfortable with understanding the entire process that goes into getting to this place where now we've got a procurement list, and then what would be included in that list. So the process, what's in the list, and then what we think in order to comply with Senate Bill 13, the board might consider going forward before finalizing approval. So with that, I'll turn it over to Heather and the team.
Okay. Good evening, Madam President, Mr. T, and board members. So I am Heather Burns, and I'm the coordinator of early childhood programs and curriculum support. So the liaison part between the librarians and myself. And so like Mr. Toscano said, our goal here tonight is that, because when you see the list, it's a little extensive, but when you understand the process that each of our amazing librarians go through, and where the list comes from, you'll see that we'll hope you have an easier time in reviewing the titles and things on the list. So I have with me Angie Cooper, the Heritage Middle School librarian, and she is our lead librarian, and also Jennifer Smith from Legacy. So I'm going to turn it over to them because they are the experts and they're the ones that did it. And I think Mr. McKay passed out some additional information. As we were going through this ourselves, we were like, these might be some questions y'all might have. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
Thank you. Good evening. First off, I just wanted to say thank you to the board for ensuring that schools have certified librarians on each campus, because this did help with this process. We have a collection development policy in place, and we've had it for years that we've followed. And because of that policy, when these new laws came about, it was a smooth transition because we were already doing a lot of what the laws require of us. So we didn't have a real big change. The real big change is, I'm sorry, it's coming to the board to have to look through all the books that we're ordering. And you will see that it is an extensive list, and it's because it's coming from elementary schools, middle schools, and the high school. And so it is a lot of books. In the folder, what we gave you is some of the things that we go through when we are doing the selecting of materials for the library. And you can see that we subscribe to a journal that has book reviews. We use Follett, and in Follett, if you look at the last page, I tried to give you an example. Oops, sorry. It's the other colorful page. When you look at the Follett system, it will tell you this is middle school appropriate. These are the reviews for this book. And this one review said it's grades 5 through 8. This other review said it's 10 and up. So when we look at that and then we read through the reviews, we know, okay, this is appropriate for middle school. Would it be appropriate for elementary? No. So the elementary librarians wouldn't be looking at that, or if they were, they would say, okay, that's not appropriate for elementary school. And so this is how we look at that. At the bottom piece, I'm sorry, I'm jumping all around. If I'm going too fast, let me know. And the bottom piece here, I wanted to show you, I've circled it, because that is one of those mature themes that some of the books do talk about. This mature theme is abuse, okay? But when you look at what I put here, this book is about a young man whose mother is an alcoholic and has abandoned them. That is neglect. That is abuse. The story is not all about the abandonment. The story about is his triumph to work through that, to save his sister. And so we also look at that. Okay, and so I know it's a scary word when they say mature themes, but when they say mature themes for certain literature, it's because abuse is a mature theme. But they're also introducing it to students in a way that is memorable for them. It helps them connect with other students who maybe they've not thought of. Oh, okay, maybe he needs a little more time. Maybe we need to. And that is the whole purpose of the selection of these books is we're opening windows. One student may not know, what that feels like. This book is explaining what that feels like, and so they can connect with other students in that way. And so that's what these things say. And so when this says abuse, we do go through and we look at, okay, what does that mean? And then we thoroughly look at the book. And this book is an excellent book, by the way. It is so good. It is a Lone Star Award book, so it's a state award book. I recommend you read it.
The collection, by the way, also with this is based on the school board policy. So when the Reader Act came out about 3 years ago, that was something that put into school board policy the collection development procedures. So this is what we base this chart off as well. So this tells us specifically the things we need to look at when we are selecting materials. So part of that is reviews for books, but we also take consultations both from our teachers, from our students, from other community members, from other school districts as well. And the recommendations for those materials. Of course, we look at the content of the curriculum and the context of the book itself. So all of these things, and we really are grateful for what's in the board policy because it gives us good guidance and it gives us good support, and we appreciate that information.
And the book reviews, when you look at the book reviews themselves, these are some of the things that they will talk about. If the book has it, it will include it. If the book doesn't have it, it won't include it. Just like when you read a book, the reviews, because I think are the reviews on the list this time?
Reviews
We're
are on the
trying to
list
get
this time.
summaries for you. We're working with Paulette on that. But if you look at the book reviews, it'll give you a brief summary, and then it'll tell you this is recommended for grades 5 through 8. And then the next review will say, and that's how we see it. Because like the page that I showed you, it lists it at the top, but the reviews give you more in depth. This says, SLJ says 5 and up. But if you go lower on the page, then we see why did SLJ say 5 and up, and we can read through that, and that's how we make our decisions.
And so the reviews are our basis because they're professional reviewers, many of them librarians, many educators, or in the book field themselves. We can't read every book. We submitted you a list of over 1,700 new titles this month. So we can't read them all. We have to rely on our professional reviews. And that is our #1 resource where we start. And we often look at more than one so that it's not just one point of view.
Okay. And you will see on the list some of them don't have reviews. That's mainly going to be your nonfiction books. For some reason, those aren't reviewed as much as fiction books. But those are your factual books. We're going to be talking about World War II or your histories, your social sciences. But for some reason, they don't review those as much as they do fiction because it's the fiction a lot of times where we have those themes that we really need to look at and make sure that they're appropriate for our grade levels. The last sheet is how to review. It just gives you some guidance on when you're going through that sheet, how you can look at these books. So if it has a professional review provided, it'll give you a clear idea of what the book is about. You'll be able to see, it'll tell you, is this for elementary, is it for middle school, is it for high school? So you'll be able to see which grade level is looking to purchase this book. You'll be able to look at the educational value of it when you look at the reviews, or if it's nonfiction, if you look at something in elementary and they're buying books on animals, is that something that is appropriate for students? And in this district, yes, they love animals.
In middle school this year, Ms. Cooper and I both found a series for tennis shoes. All different types of tennis shoes. And if you've been in the middle school, you will know that the tennis shoes and sneakers are the thing. And at Legacy, we even have a sneakers club.
Yes.
So to find a whole series of nonfiction just on different tennis shoes, that's going to fly off the shelves.
Yes, and especially for our readers that don't, like reading, we pull them down with those books. And then it talks about the themes. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me or Ms. Smith, and we will answer those questions. If you're like, I need more information on this book, and it doesn't have reviews, we will graciously answer those
And the list that we put together for you, I compiled that from all of the librarian selections. If you need it in a different format, if you need different types of information, please let us know. The main vendor we work with is Follett, and they have done a great job working with us to provide information. They gave us so much more information than I passed on to you because it was overwhelming. But we did want to make sure that you had access to as much information as you could hopefully use. If there is more, different format, different style, please again, let us know because it's on a spreadsheet. It's pretty easy to mess with and we can change that up as we need to.
And that is crucially important because I want to remind everyone, Valor and Victory are coming. So you know what that means, big book orders. And so we need to know how you want that broken down. You know, so we're not giving you $200,000 worth of books in a list, okay? So how do you want that broken down? How do you want us to get that to you? Do you want it in chunks? You know, of course, we're gonna pull out those that, because when we look at Valor, we look at Heritage, we look at Legacy, and there are some books that are gonna go in there. The kids love Diary of a Wimpy Kid. That's already in our system. So that won't come to you because we know it's already in the system and been approved. So the only thing that's coming to you are books that are going to be new, which are the up and coming 2026 books. But it's still probably going to be quite a bit. So how do you want to see that? And just let us know so that we can make sure and break it down in easy chunks for you. My guess, I'm meeting with Jennifer and I were meeting with Follett this Thursday. My guess is that February is going to be the deadline so they can have it all done by the time school opens. So we just need to know how you want that because we don't want to overwhelm you.
Yeah, so a few thoughts that we have, if you guys give us some direction. You know, this particular list is 400 and something pages, 1,800 titles. But when you look at like this list, they've all been screened, and those that had, say, mature content flag, like the example that was mentioned, we take a deeper dive in those to make sure that if it is flagged, why is it flagged? And is that the entire context of the book, or is it a book like was described that is really intended to really help kids see that no matter what you deal with, you can overcome it and that sort of thing. So if it's appropriate, it's selected or at least recommended by our librarians. My thought is, rather than review 1,800 titles, the board would probably want to see at least a list, a subset of that list that is all those that were sensitive or mature content flagged. That they can look at the whole list, but you might want to start with those just to make sure that when they look at those reviews, they feel pretty good, you know, about those and don't have additional questions. If there's additional questions, then that's where the team will support the policy review committee of the board to say, okay, tell us about this particular title. I'm reading the review and it still seems to be pretty sensitive. Tell us why you guys are recommending that title. Does that make sense? So
It does.
the spirit of the law
Yes.
is, let's just cut to the chase.
Right.
Let's make sure we're not putting pornography in kids'
Right.
you know, hands that is not only not age appropriate, but not appropriate for kids in school. That's the political agenda, that's the interest, so we have to do our due diligence to make sure that in addition to the due diligence that we've always done, and we feel pretty confident that the titles in our libraries are very age appropriate and very subject appropriate as well, the board has to make sure that they're doing their due diligence to make sure that they're double checking and triple checking any of those that were flagged initially, and that there is no additional need to just verify that we're good with that content in our schools, because we do have the autonomy as a school community to say, well, that might be okay in most libraries, but in ours, we're going to go ahead and pass on that.
Are they giving us any recommendations?
Yes.
The law, as far as what we can or can't? I mean,
Yeah, is it
they're saying-
statutory, is it very specific? Any statute, is there specific?
Profanity and obscenity. The main regulations are about obscenity and profanity in materials, and the basic definition now considered of obscene or profane material is if it cannot be on public TV between 16 and 10. That's pretty much considered a basic definition now for Texas and materials of such. So of course, course, public TV has expanded quite a bit too, so there are some questions there. I think what we've been discussing, challenges when we think about the term sensitive or even controversial is, that's a very subjective term. So how do we, because you as a parent or a community member, you deal with, you work with your child and your children very closely, and that's a very consistent moral values and mental systems, how you work with your child. We work with 1,500 students or 1,200 students, so we see a little different perspective. So my sensitive and your sensitive, so I'm just trying to get a baseline for how we look at what we're thinking about. Do we want to come up with key words that we're searching for, key subject areas? Because we're either going to have to ask each campus librarian to go through their list, or if it comes to like, I've compiled a list. So if I go through that, I don't know the elementary books. I
Yeah,
didn't
so
read
like,
those reviews.
just to clarify, every librarian goes through the process
Yes, sir.
Yes.
that you guys,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
right, and
Yes.
then they select
Mhm.
the titles that they want to include. So they've all been scrubbed for what they feel is age appropriate, content appropriate, and even supporting the curriculum
Yes, sir.
at these grade levels as well,
So
right?
this list is coming from our.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
This list is coming
Meaning-
from our
Meaning
library.
Texas is not saying.
No.
This is what you
No.
need to put in
No.
the library.
No.
No.
Okay, well, I'm okay with that,
Yeah.
but to my point earlier, if we don't approve a book, are we gonna get backlash? You know what I'm saying? Like from the community, like you said, my view of this book is different than your view. What if as a board we say, no, we're not putting that book in there, and then we get backlash?
It's possible. Yeah, so I would say, that's what I'm saying, that I think if we go into it knowing that there's been due diligence.
Right.
There's been a very disciplined process that's codified in policy we've been using for multiple years.
Right.
That we think has got our stacks in a really good place from a sensitivity standpoint. And so we believe that they're age appropriate, that the content is appropriate as it's being presented in the titles, like the example Ms. Cooper gave. And that the titles that we've selected, even if they're flagged for sensitive or mature content, in addition to that, support our curriculum, possibly. So for several reasons, the librarian said, yep, I want to go ahead and choose this title. But even then, I think the spirit of this bill is to say, as a board though, you should be able to take another look at those that are flagged for sensitivity, read the summary and say, oh, these are all, these are very appropriate. But this one in particular, can you please help us understand a little bit more about why we want to
Especially
choose
because
that?
the board always does it, the board. Is the board.
That's right.
I would
What
like
we
that.
do have in place is the parent partnership, which is on the library website. And what that does, it allows a parent to go in, gives them access to their student's account in Destiny, and they can say, my child cannot check out scary books. My child can't check out this particular book. And when that child comes into the library and they're like, I want to check this out, when we scan it, an alert is going to come up and say, this child is not allowed to check out this book.
That's awesome.
So we do have that in place.
And that's also one of the requirements of the bill. And later, Mr. McKay will talk about Senate Bill 12. We've also put on our website, on the Talk to Us tab, the ability for a parent to say, I want to know all of the books Tyson Toscano has checked out. So even though I've done that, I want to make sure that, I want to double check to
Like
make
I
sure
did
that
it now,
that
but what is it checked
yeah,
out?
I want to make sure that he had checked out any scary books because I said he could, right?
That is
So-
also, yes, and that is also part of our parent partnership. They can see the entire checkout record. And the current list that we have submitted to you is also available online for our families and community members to see as well.
Is this the program we already had, or did?
It is not as extensive as what you have. So the program, what you get to see for the selection of books, you had the reviews on them. Ours did not. Ours just had the title, the author, and the ISBN, the individual unique number for the book. So we just put that out there. That was also a requirement of SB 13, that there was a public posting of the list as well.
I'm just thinking unfunded mandates all day long, like,
Oh,
do we have funds for this,
Mhm.
is this in our budget, is there? No.
The program that we use for the parent partnership is actually Destiny.
It's part of our
It's
circulation
part of our
system.
circulation system, so it's not an extra thing.
Yeah, they've been very good. We've been very pleased with our circulation system, that they have made accommodations, obviously the entire state of Texas, but other states as well needing that. And so they have worked with us for the parental information. And we're offering different opportunities for that, different levels depending on what we as a district chose to go with. And of course, meeting the requirements of the law, but also supporting us in the downloading of the list. The list you received, the only work I had to do was just do a little bit of sorting. So it was actually pretty simple to get that information together. So we've been pleased with that. But again, what do we, how we can make it more useful for you. If I'm understanding Mr. Toscano, possibly that the librarians, as they make their selection, you want them to maybe make a note sensitive or?
So what we would need to do at this level, so we go through the same process we've always gone through, but the statute requires that there's oversight, public oversight of the decision before the board makes it, right? And this is the public, right? So they're going to form a subcommittee of the board that when these recommendations are come forward, in the past, we would just present them as the list. They would recommend, motion, second, bless. Now has the subcommittee taken a look at the list? Well, there's 1,800 titles. We're trusting the process.
Yes.
But by God, the spirit of the bill is to say, are we pushing pornography in the third grader's hands that is not age appropriate and really is a book that is a bad choice, right? This committee takes a look at those, reads those that are flagged, like the one you demonstrated as an example, and they say, oh my God, that's a perfect title. It's a great option for our kids at that age level. And then there's no concerns. The subcommittee comes back at the regular meeting, and the committee recommends to the rest of the board, hey, we took a second look. We like the titles that are being presented, 1,800 strong. Now the chair will consider a motion. That step is new, right? And if in the event along the way there's a flagged book that you guys know, this is what we're relying on you guys to know, is this has been a hot title in the land. It's created some havoc across Texas in some communities. We are recommending it, but we want the subcommittee to know it's a hot title. So now that's where your question comes in. Okay, do we want to also consider removing this, like the 3 districts in East Texas that have been, seeing it at their board meetings? I mean, is the content and the context of it substantiate us making that call? So let's take a look at it and let's talk about it.
And if by this process we have the committee.
That's right.
Approved by the board,
That's
you
right.
guys, the committee, and the
That's
board,
right.
then.
So we think it's going to be few and far between, quite honestly, and because of the process we've had in place, we are pretty fortunate as the district that we haven't had a lot of any controversy about this thing, because we've been pretty diligent and our stacks are well maintained and scrubbed, if you will, this discipline process, and so we feel like we're in a good place, but we also think it's a good idea for there to be just another look. But you guys need to help us somehow from the 1,800, like here's the 100 that you might want to just take another glance at. And then if in those 100 there's 5 that we just want to understand a little better beyond the summary, the committee will ask, and you guys help the committee get that additional,
Yes, we should do that.
right? And
Or we
then,
just have a reading club meeting.
so what we don't want is the subcommittee to be on their own to scrub 1,800 and then of the 1,800.
I mean, the tennis shoe books.
Everybody's got a whole list on that.
Is that helpful?
Yes.
Does that sound like a good
That's-
process?
yes.
Board? So basically, we'll take these titles, we'll turn it over to the subcommittee, we'll turn it over in a way that kind of identifies up the 1,800, those that had some sort of indication, glance at those brief summaries, and if any of those you think warrant a deeper understanding, ask and we'll provide that. And then when you're ready, the subcommittee brings it back, lets us know, hey, let's get it on October's agenda or September's agenda.
We
Sooner the
appreciate your
better.
trust in that. We appreciate your trust in us to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We can definitely take a look and see what are some keywords, what are some things that may just raise some eyebrows. I know I had at least one book on my list and I'm like, whoo, it's a very good book. It's highly recommended for middle school, but I know that some people would have concerns about it. But I mean, it's a health book, so, health information can always be concerning for people. So I know that would be one I'd say, I'd love to see support on that book.
Yeah. So there you go. By flagging it, now you can
Yes, sir.
Right.
get a deeper look, and then now we all approved it, so we all are on the same page.
And as
You
far as
guys have
supplying
covered.
those 2 schools, if we get to talk about it now, I say load them up so they'll be equal to all the other campuses. We don't want one having only have to start, that's just.
Oh, that's it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
If there's
Thank
no
you.
reviews.
I'm sorry?
If there's no reviews at all.
There are no professional
I was looking at one
reviews.
for elementary, it says a deadly journey.
Oh, yes.
Elementary, a deadly journey.
Well,
It's
I
about
mean,
the
it could
Titanic.
be, I mean, I think about, what was that, The Incredible Journey with the 3 animals that got lost and they had to find their way
This is a
home?
deadly journey.
Yeah.
I read that one too earlier.
Yeah, so I may look,
Last night.
but if you have questions, again, let us know, either contact Ms. Burns or you can contact us
There'll be
directly.
some note in here, so if it comes up, we can understand. Like if you just put Titanic on there or something, I would understand better.
Right. We're hoping to get the
Than just
review, the overview, which is a summary. We're
Yeah.
hoping that Paula can give us the product overview, which is a summary of the book.
Yeah.
They just haven't had that feature set up yet.
So do our software resources allow us to sort for those that are
Yes.
abuse?
Yes.
And what are those? Because there's a line through it. What are they?
Yeah, so I guess what I'm asking for is
Subject
find a way to condense the list, so when we present 1,800 titles or 20,000 titles, here's the 100, here's the 100.
Yeah, like all of them.
And the deadly journey is on there, there you go. Okay, so now I look at the summary for a deadly journey, oh, it's about 3 dogs making their way back home. Perfect for third graders. But if without it, right, him and the public might go, a deadly journey,
Yes.
third grade book?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
no, I-
preposterous.
in the- on
What are you
the
doing to
list, I
these
have
children?
no idea.
That's what this is intended to do.
That's definitely, it is, titles are confusing so often,
Absolutely.
very
And
often.
we don't want to make assumptions, right?
Yes,
So you gotta be able
exactly.
to explain to the public who might say, why deadly
I
journey.
mean, it could be a Holocaust story or something, I'm not even sure.
And I looked it up and I was like, oh, it's about the Titanic, its history.
Yes, got that good, yes.
Makes sense.
Yes,
So, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, we appreciate the trust being placed on us, and we're working very hard to work with everybody. Everybody in the library services has been very pleased by the support we receive from the board. Our board policies have been very supportive of our library services, and we really appreciate that.
Appreciate you guys taking the time to explain the process.
Yes.
We appreciate you doing it in the past and doing it now.
Thank you so much.
All right, the next item is 5.3, discussion of donation from SA Digital Connect.
Yeah, so SA Digital Connects donated 100 laptops they actually donated these to the CAS network of schools, and the CAS network has directed 100 of those to CAS Lead. And so the issue with that donation is that they're valued at about $36,000. So we do have, our technology team has reviewed, taken a look at them. We can image them, they can integrate, into our system perfectly without additional cost. We will have to pay for the licenses for those, but that's a fraction of the cost of what they would have cost otherwise. So really fantastic donation from SA Digital Connects. But that's the gist of that donation. So I'm happy to answer any questions about that one otherwise.
We always love those.
All right.
5.4, discussion of donation from school nutrition.
Yep, this is a donation from a foundation called AMTAB, A-M-T-A-B. And basically, we were awarded a grant, $50,000 grant, and there'll be no financial transaction. They're basically coming to CAS and the high school, at our secondary campus, the high school, to identify some opportunities for cafeteria seating that is outdoor. And so they'll help us determine what the best solutions are for the spaces that we have, up to $50,000 in value, and then they'll order it, they'll install it, all the things. So the board's role is to consider if we think that that's an acceptable $50,000 grant for that purpose to accept. So that's what that one's about.
All right, anybody? Next item is 5.5, discussion of amended 25-26 professional services and local retail provider list.
Yep, so the board in August had already approved this list, and we went ahead and attached it in your folder, a hard copy. And this is just a list of people we procure goods and services from, that we do business with. And generally, they're on this list because they're not already in a purchasing co-op. So just kind of by way of reminder, if they're in a purchasing co-op, the contract has already been negotiated. And by being a member of the co-op, everybody in the co-op gets to benefit from that preferred contract. Sometimes these businesses are also in a co-op, but sometimes we use these businesses for other things than have been procured, or other than the contract that is in the co-op, right? So these folks you've already approved in August, but we've added some folks that we actually missed in August. So the August list included everything other than the 2025 list. And the 2025 list is the shorter list. And these are all folks we've already been doing business with for several years. So we just want to make sure that they're formally accepted by the board and added to the list that you've already approved in August. So that's.
So these are all additions to.
Yep, but they should have been included in August because we already have been, we've been doing business with these folks and had them approved as a vendor, if you will, prior. It's just that every year we bring it back. We just missed it with this group. Does that make sense? Okay.
I have one question. How do they get on this list? I guess is
Yep.
How do they get on this list?
Yep,
What's the
so
process?
like Buckeye Cleaning, for example, our custodial services uses Buckeye. And what we have done is when we go out for goods and services, we get quotes, we oftentimes use multiple providers. We have found that Buckeye provides reliable service, good products at a fair rate. And so because of that, we wanted to put them on as a vendor that we would utilize. So after the vetting process, the folks that we tend to prefer doing business with end up on this list. And what that then means is that we have their business information on file in the business office. If they're not on this list, we don't do business with them.
Okay, and I guess, so my question, you said vetted, so we have a team that vets, like with my experience, we'll have a vendor and we'll grade if they bid, right? So we put out a solicitation and then they bid, and if they meet the criteria, and we grade them on that criteria, and we have someone that does that. Who does that?
Yeah, so when you're talking about like big contracts, or you're talking about just all goods and services.
Right, yeah, so big contracts, I can see how that all works
Yeah.
out, but how do we get to the smaller ones, I guess? I guess what I want to be able to answer if somebody asks, well, is that a brother-in-law?
That's
or
right.
is that, I want to be able to know, we have a committee, or we have
Yeah,
a.
there's a process. We get 2 quotes minimum for everything. They're all different, right? Like, so you look at Dotson House Moving. Okay, so Gator Dotson's company moves portable buildings. They're sole source.
Right.
So that's the answer to that.
Yeah, that's good.
Where Buckeye is one of maybe 50 providers of custodial service supplies. We ask for quotes, we get bids, of course we've used several providers over the years, and Buckeye happens to be one that's proven over time to be the best value, the most reliable, the best products. And so
I guess what I'm asking is who, when you say we, who's the we?
it depends on the department. So Chief,
Gotcha.
the PD,
Gotcha.
has a process.
Right, so.
Stevie in maintenance, will have a process. Transportation, their leadership team will have a process. It's the same process. If we need tires, we're going to go out into the market, we're going to take quotes, we're going to look at prices, we're going to look at references, we're going to look at our experience with them in the past, and we're going to decide what's the best value. And then based on that scoring, if you will, they may get that. We may do business with them that time. If they proved to not be reliable, we were supposed to get 24 tires, we got 20, and it took you 5 weeks to get the other 4, we're going back out to market next time. So, hope that helps.
It does, I think, as long as we.
But there is no brother-in-law deal, there is no sole source.
And have no thoughts of that.
No, but you gotta defend it.
You gotta, that's right.
Yeah.
And
So where there are.
That's what I'm saying, as long as we have, and I'm sure we do, I'm just asking where, if we ever had, we never.
And I believe it's in policy. And if it's not, if it's policy, and so that's probably something we want to bring out for the board's review is the policy.
Are we doing
Acceptable.
a policy committee after all, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. We talked about that.
And this committee that's going to review the library books is that committee as well.
Yeah. But it's kind of in the umbrella, I think we can always talk about.
Then the community was gonna be better.
So that's the Slack, which we chose not to do, because the Slack would be if you had controversies in your community around library books. So we can go to that if we start to see issues. But right now, we're going to use the District of Innovation pathway to say, we're just going to use the subcommittee of the board to fulfill that requirement. And if along the way, you find a controversial book, for example, and you want more input, you can invite more community in, but you won't have to assemble a community group for every one of these reviews.
It's kind of like doing physical therapy before you go into surgery, right? So
Well,
you
and
might need surgery, but.
It's called, what's the name? Bidding, something bidding.
You want to talk more, you want to talk some about that?
You have to guess what we're talking about.
Procurement, we're just talking about procurement.
And that's why I know, because I know it's.
I will tell you that Meredith Rokas handles the procurement. She does a fantastic job of staying on top of everything and watching everything. Any big purchases go through her, and anything over 500 to 1,000, I might sign, but she's definitely going to look at it. So she watches everything that, and we all do that. They put down that the co-op is listed or no co-op. We also ask them to attach 3 quotes. So she goes probably above and aboard on getting all these names listed, because some of them are part of the co-op. But she feels like with the amount of dollars that might be spent, that she wants y'all to see those names, and that she's very dedicated in doing it.
Well, so from a procedural standpoint, this is way better information than I shared, but if it's, so we have a person, but let's say transportation goes through a process of procuring tires. Before that's signed off on, because that 24 tire purchase is, $5,000, what happens?
Okay. Well, there's a path for every purchase that is made at East Central, and it's done through a center, and it's put in by the secretary, and it's approved by their supervisor. Then, depending on the amount, it might go to Stevie, it might go to John Thomas, it might go to Shane, and if it's technology, it always goes to James Ubansky. And then once they've all approved it, then it comes to me, and I look at it, and then I add Meredith, because I want her to look at everything if she has an issue. Once Meredith approves it, it comes back to me.
Now, when Meredith is reviewing it,
Meredith reviews
say a
it.
little deeper what Meredith does. Just repeat what you said earlier for clarity's
Well,
sake.
Meredith will look at the amount. She will look to make sure, just like I do, that they put that a co-op was in there.
If it wasn't a co-op.
And if it wasn't a co-op, did they have quotes? Are
There you
all
go.
they
There you
on
go.
this list? And then she'll sign it, and then I'll get it back, and sometimes I see something I don't like, and I return it. Any of the people I talked about, they can return the requisition to the originator with an explanation of what's wrong. And so I feel like we watch everything that goes through. We make sure that they have the correct budget code, we make sure they're not overdrawn, we make sure that they have put the co-op, we make sure that they put the commodity codes, because that's required too. And so there's a lot of eyes on every requisition that comes through.
Have you all ever purchased through Bible?
Oh, we are members of Bible.
Yeah.
We're, whenever there's and as y'all can see, sometimes an interlocal agreement might be with Northeast or Northside. Meredith will bring it to y'all to approve. We have several buy boards and different co-ops that we use.
Because Tasby cuts rebate checks at the end.
So the difference between a co-op and not is because that contract has already been negotiated and vetted, then you can just purchase those tires through the buy board.
Yeah,
And then it goes through the path, and as long as it gets to Meredith and she sees that it was procured through buy board and she verifies the contract and it matched the price, then, and that they've got the money and all the things, and it goes to Judy, and Judy verifies again all of those things, and then it could be approved.
And this year's the same process.
Same process, yeah.
That's
So the
way above
question,
the
yeah, earlier
review.
was, how did they get on here? As we do business as, but the way they got on here, any transaction that happens with any of them goes through this
same process,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah, it's above and beyond. It's-
Yes, sir.
There is no room for,
And this goes back to we say the what, and they
That's it.
figure out
No,
the
no,
how.
But you know how
we're
to-
fairly new, and once we go through policy and update, then we'll be more familiar. Then when they give us this list to approve, we're like, oh, we know how.
And just another,
Yeah, I love that. I
just
love that.
another, like, just for the sake of the board understanding, you know, there have been times when, while there wasn't a conflict of interest, it could have been perceived by the public, right? You have someone sitting in a role in the district or on the board that has a business that does business with the district, as opposed to just going through this process would be appropriate. Those things are lifted out, even though they've been vetted through the process and brought to the board for the board's
Right.
consideration
Like
of
if
approval.
Gator's brother was
Publicly, right, there you
the
go.
board president.
Yeah, so, yeah, let's say
That
we were
looks
doing,
bad,
yeah,
but
say we were doing
you don't
business
want-
with Scooter, and
Yeah.
it's totally appropriate, that would come to the board every time we get a transaction for public transparency. Even though it's been vetted through the entire process.
Then
of
he's
doing
the
it.
cheapest, he's the lowest bidder.
All the above. It has to be publicly discussed, and we've done that before. It's rare, but when those circumstances arise for the interest of transparency, Judy will bring that forward for board approval, board discussion, publicly documented. The board chose to do that business was for all of these reasons that were discussed.
And that question was.
Another layer that we have, that Meredith has done really well with her team, is all of this is on her webpage. There's no reason why somebody can't see if they're on my board, what my board, are they on this contract here? It's Meredith has done a great job with her team to have a very easy webpage for them to find out. So you have somebody in transportation, or you have a secretary of school. They know where to go. They know to see, oh, it is on my board. And so she's done an outstanding job of making sure that everybody knows the information they need to know.
That's perfect.
It's evidently, it's no secret.
No, no doubt.
I
And the
mean, it's
question,
no
the
secret
reason
for
why.
them, they can find it.
Oh, beautiful. No, and my whole reason for the question was my education.
100%.
Just learning it in that way, if we ever were faced with a question. Because or let me say it this way, I know the public, and I know sometimes the questions are so off base, if you will, that they have no merit, but they bring it up anyway, and that way we can at least have an educated answer from there. So, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Love it. Moving.
All right, item 5.6, discussion of waiver of penalty and interest on tax accounts.
So we bring these to you from time to time, and we're actually going to do a little research to see if there's a way to make this less of a burden, and this is why. So what these are basically saying is when the tax assessor makes a mistake and they discover that they made a mistake, they let us know, right? So Mr. Santos has a little property over there in Elmendorf, and he found out that he got taxed $50 too much. And he appealed that, and the appraisal district said, yep, they overcharged Mr. Santos $50, and the district got an extra $50. So now we need to return that back to Mr. Santos. So in order for us to do that, the board has to authorize that. The problem is most of the time they're very small amounts, $100, $150, $200. So we may have to bring every one of those. They don't happen very often. It seems like we've done it 2 or 3 times recently. But we were just curious if, if they exceed $500 or something, maybe we gotta bring them to the board. I don't know, just so we don't have to do that transaction every time. But as of right now, every time that we're notified by the tax assessor that they made a mistake and that we need to refund some dollars, we gotta bring that to the board every
And
time.
who said that?
The tax assessor.
They said
Tax
there's
assessor.
support, but
Yeah.
how did you say it when you said it right now? If there's a certain.
Well, we
amount?
don't know if there is a way for us to say, if it doesn't
How
exceed
is that
this
fair?
amount.
I mean, we have to
Yeah.
approve $5,000 donation. Anything under that.
Yeah, so right now, there's no policy like that, but we don't know if there's latitude in the law.
I was gonna say, so if we could make a policy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, we don't know. We're gonna do a little initial exploration, and if it is possible, we'll let the board know.
Yeah, set a threshold.
Yeah, just set a threshold so we don't have these nickel down, every time we turn around, we got one of these to approve and it's such a nominal amount.
Yeah, I think maybe just notify us not get approval.
Just a
You know what I
notification.
mean?
Just
So you
notify
can
us.
do it, but then in the agenda, or not the agenda,
The consent.
consent agenda, yeah, you put it there. It doesn't need to be voted
Yeah.
on.
But we're just, either way, we'll follow the law, but if there's a way to make it more efficient,
Yeah.
we're gonna do a little research and we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Has there been an abundance of those, you said, recently?
It just seems like every time, there's one here, one there, there's been two or three lately, it just, and they're all, I think this one's $136 and a $50 fee. It's such a small amount.
And it's the tax assessor's
Correct.
issue.
It was appealed to them, they confirmed they made a mistake, but because they had already distributed tax funds, they gotta go back to where it was funded to reimburse. I think that's on, I don't know who has the $50 fee, but it's $130-something and a $50 fee that I think the taxpayer was charged. So that whole amount needs to be refunded. If that makes sense. No, we didn't get assessed the fee, but we generated that revenue. So that's what that item's about.
This is our September meeting agenda?
So these are all the action items, for the most part. Yes, ma'am. So the thinking is,
So we can't, well, can y'all have that information by board meeting?
we'll try, yeah.
So we can go ahead and do that?
We'll try. So our thinking is, that once we've discussed all of these, if everybody's good with them, we'll put them on consent for the regular meeting. Of course, anyone can be pulled, and so maybe that one's on consent, and we do have some additional information to our full.
Yeah.
But there's no sense in rehashing
Yeah,
every
like
one
to
of
his
these
point,
items.
put that there so we don't have to get approval. It's just
Yeah, and like
Your
the
notifying
library,
list,
there's no reason next week to have the whole presentation again. Everybody's calibrated, feels pretty good, we'll put it on consent if anybody else wants to.
And to be completely honest, I was gonna discuss this anyway. I love the data every month, but if we're gonna do this and we're getting more information on our own to read, I don't think we really need the full.
At the regular meeting.
Right. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? Like, I love it. And
All the
I don't
dialogue
want none of
and
it.
the bigger presentations
Yes.
happen in this setting.
Yes.
At the meeting.
I see all of
It's
our
excellent.
principals and everybody out here tired from their day, and I'm thinking,
How can you get in and get
they
out?
already know all this stuff, I mean, they're seeing all this information anyway. If we could just go ahead and not do that whole, because we already get it, and then we're gonna do this, I would like that, to be honest. And I'm only one person, so if everybody else still wants it, then I'll sit through it, because I love it. But I'm just thinking, we don't have to do that anymore if we're gonna start including it in our
Work sessions, yeah. Okay.
From my standpoint, it's all good information, and if we can get to a point of where it's visible, real time, up to date, then I do agree with that. Other than that, on a monthly basis.
Well, we're gonna
It's
still
good.
have it here, in this setting, the meeting
Yeah,
before the
here it
meeting,
comes.
if we keep doing this.
Yeah.
Whoever shows, we don't have to have a quorum here, right?
I
So,
think, so if I step away, but I guess what you're saying is like, we don't need to have, another 2-hour meeting.
You don't need to duplicate all of this next Thursday.
yeah, because this is my thing, like, sorry, where am I space? I talk with my hands.
Give us some space.
So, like I said a minute ago, we say the what we're looking for with our admin, what our goals are. You guys do the how are we gonna do it? We don't need to get in all those weeds and know all the, we love it, I love it. Like I said, I could sit through it all the time, I don't know, but I'm just thinking, our audience is all of our principals and they're tired and they're catching up on work and stuff, so I'm thinking, we don't have to go through all of that. But I don't wanna disrespect, I don't want anybody, I don't want more Jonathan, you
Got
can't
it.
come to meetings anymore, Jonathan, because he loves it. So I don't wanna hurt anybody's feelings, and that way, we still want the information, and we're getting it now in real time
Yeah,
on our own to read.
yeah.
That's my thought.
We'll capitalize on some efficiencies as we have more of these work sessions together and figure
Yes.
out how we can streamline the regular meeting as a
Yeah,
result.
do the
Like-
stuff that we need to approve,
Yeah.
not so much what you guys are doing, because we know y'all are doing the things and we're seeing it. But just do our business portion and everything's going.
Yeah. Okay.
Make it more efficient for members.
Uno más.
All right, item 5.7, discussion on resolution regarding Senate Bill 12 and parent rights.
All right, so you do have a draft of something TASB recommends and sent forward as an option for consideration. It's a resolution regarding Senate Bill 12 and parent rights. And so you're all familiar with Senate Bill 12 and its intention, which is to ensure that parents have the right to determine what their kids experience in school, to include if they receive care in the clinic, if they receive counseling, all the way to the nature of the library books that they select. Parent choice, parent rights are something that we should be committed to in the way that we organize. And then the second thing in House in Senate Bill 12 is really to make sure that there are no practices or policies in our organization being taxpayer funded that would set some rules for inclusion, diversity, equity, things like hiring policies or practices that are based on those kinds of guidance, right? So essentially, there are a whole lot of district shall, right? School board shall, superintendent shall, and so it's in the law, right? So what TASB did was basically unpack it in a resolution, which basically says, here are the 25 things essentially that have to be guaranteed per the law. And what this resolution is saying is that, and if you look at the second whereas, it became law September 1. Well, we're past that. And the third whereas says local policies relating to matters in Senate Bill 12 will be adopted as soon as practical. But it's going to be after the effective date. And the reason is because guidance hasn't been passed down from legal counsel. TASB hasn't had an opportunity to recommend policy. TEA hasn't had the ability to recommend or to set forward rules, but the law came into effect September 1. So by considering this resolution next week and passing it, the board is basically saying, we're going to comply with the law, but the guidance and the policies are going to be adopted and put in place when we have that information, understanding that the law is already in place, right? So what I wanted to do tonight was Shane and I will walk through each of these, because the good news is a whole lot of these we've already complied with and are in the process of complying with. And I want the board to understand with each of these things what we're doing to make sure that we're continuing to be in compliance with the law, but also that we will be in compliance with the law. So if it's helpful, we'll just kind of start with number 2, really, because number 1 is basically saying you're going to follow all of these policies by law. So Shane, if you would, let's just kind of quickly go through. Some of these are come together, by the way.
They are, yeah. I'll do my best to round it out where we can. Number 2 just talks about they have the right to make moral and religious decisions. The big part, if you in decisions concerning their child's education, then in that second part of that paragraph there's a column, and it says consent to medical, psychiatric, or psychological treatment of a parent's child and not infringing less part of law provide life-saving care to a child, which means that we can't provide counseling services until we get consent, or medical services, which we'll talk more about later, until we get consent from the parent to be able to see that. So we've already sent out a consent form out. We're following based on what legal guidance and what local area school districts around us are also doing, as well as based on that. We've had over 6,000 responses already from parents across the district. So we're tracking really, really well. Less than 1% are not getting consent. We've already double checked some of those parents and like, oh, that was a mistake. Let me fix that. So we're having to resend them the consent. So we're working through that process right now. We'll continue until we can get that. But again, if a child is in need, it does say that we can definitely service that child immediately. But our goal is that always we want to make sure we check with the parent, which is a standard practice service anyway. Nurse is always going to call the parent if they're having to treat. The counselor will always call if the child's up there and they need to see a counselor because of an issue.
but where it says life-saving, but obviously if we can't get a hold of the parent, we're not gonna just.
No, right, so life-saving event, so, you know, if an issue arises and a
Yeah,
kid.
kid's got a
needs
really
to-
bad cut, we need to stop the bleed.
We're doing
And we
it.
don't have consent.
Right.
We're stopping the bleed, but we're calling the parents.
We're gonna
If
do
it's
all,
not-
we're gonna
They're
take
not
it.
bleeding, they're not gushing, they come in, they have to look them up before they can treat them.
Yes.
I got a headache, all right, my stomach's hurt, I'm upset, I feel nauseous.
Hold on 1 second, I gotta look you up.
Yeah. We gotta make sure we have consent.
Well, what
Or
we're
we
doing
can
is.
call the parent and say, are you okay if we, you know, take a look at
Yeah, that's it.
Chloe, she's got an upset stomach, and you're like, obviously.
Yeah, because I see a difference, and I know it's only been, what y'all said about Saturday?
Mhm.
Because Chloe has anxiety, I'm just gonna be for real, she's not Callie, and this is being recorded, I'm sorry, I love you. But she has anxiety, and it makes her heart race, and she gets upset, her stomach's upset. So I've already noticed, like, and I'm not saying anything
Yeah.
bad, but you can tell they're stressed out. The nurses are stressed out, because they're like, oh, you know, and they know her, and I guess they know who I am, so they know that I don't have a problem with her sitting for a minute. But you can tell they're stressed out, and this is what upsets me, because one person caused a scene, a problem, and now
Now it's law.
this is happening.
Now it's in statute.
Law,
And
you
so,
have to give
yeah.
consent. to-
So we're trying to find ways to ease that burden for our nurses and our counselors and creating a platform. You know, not only will we have the Google form, but they also have a student facing tool that they can pull up, you type in their name right away, and pop up, and it will say consent given.
Yes.
So they can just continue to move on. So it is an additional layer. But we're in the process of making sure that we comply already with this. And again, in the event we don't get a consent, we're not going to not provide treatment in
Right.
case of really significant incidences that are occurring. But then number two is we'll be calling the parent, which has already been standard practice anyway, before we would treat a child as well. So that's number two. Okay. Number three, Mr. Toscano said, number three, number four, number five, I'm just gonna go through all three of those, is that we will not require employees or contractors to assign, we won't assign anybody DEI, nor will we have anybody we contract with. And number four, to have somebody for DEI. And then number five is around also assisting students who may be enrolling through social transitioning and or assisting people through social transitions. We're working right now with TASB and going to be updating our employee handbook based on their model employee handbook. So they're in the process of getting the language to add it to our employee handbook moving forward. So I just want to be clear with you that this will be standard across our system moving forward. It's not been something
They didn't tell you anything about the time period between, because we can't vote on ours until Friday, Saturday, whenever delegate assembly is, because of the same issue, the DEI statement in TASB's mission statement, that they were given leniency, I guess, because of when our delegate assembly, they didn't give us a deadline, because it was September 1st. Are we okay with when this gets approved? They're not saying, or they're saying put it on in September when you're
September
board
30th.
meeting? So they gave us until the end of September.
So by the statute, the superintendent has to certify by presenting to the board something that says, I'm going to comply with this law. And then you guys accept my commitment to applying with this, complying with this law. I have to do that by September 30th. So by adopting this resolution, essentially, that's what we're all saying is, we're going to comply with the law. We just got to work through a process for some of these to get policy recommendations and that, but we're going to comply with the law. And the 30th is that first drop dead date, just to acknowledge publicly, we are going to comply with the law. I professing to you guys publicly, and then you guys accepting my commitment to upholding the law, and then the board supporting that. Does that help?
Number six, we're actually already working on it. Brandon's sitting behind me, so I'm going to kind of put him a little bit on the spot. He's working right now on putting this on our website of how parents can access records. Just so you know, it's always been standard practice of ours anyway, that if a parent calls and they want any of their child's educational records, unless we have documentation that they do not have legal access to that because there's some kind of divorce decree, they get access to any written documents to include library books, written records, or anything. So we periodically, through divorce decrees, get these, divorce or they get all these records anyway that are going to them. So it's always been our standard practice. We never deny parents records unless we have documentation so that they do not have legal rights to access to that. So we're already in compliance, but Brandon's putting up something on the website that's required by the statute, that if parents want to know how they can access that with their campus, their child's campus, here's your contact person and here's how to get there. So he's working on building that out right now. Any questions on 6? Number 7, relating to parent's child shall post to the district's homepage internet access regarding those records, just what I was talking about with Brandon, so it couples with number 6. Number 8, the instructional plans, of course, syllabi. So we're working right now with Jen, and what we're doing is in our website where it says departments, you'll click on that, you'll go to the CIO website, and they're going to be posting the syllabi for each of the campuses on there. So we're working right now as well with our other legal counsel just to figure out what's the way we can make it in a very concise, but where we're not overburdening all of our teachers to say we need you to completely type an entire year's worth of syllabi to do this when we already have guiding documents that lead us through that process. So, but we will make sure we comply with that, and it'll be on our website and accessible. Number 9, that the internet portal from which parents and students enrolled in the district may submit comments to the campus or district administrators and the board. Y'all may not know this, but we've already done it. It's on the Talk to Us tab. If you go to the district website, we've had it for years. It's a way parents can reach out if they've got questions. They can go to it now and they click on it. There's a couple of tabs. One of those right now says superintendent. When they click superintendent's office, they wish to request information, they hit or leave a comment. They can click that, and then they can either leave it for the superintendent's office or for the board of trustees. They can click that, and then they can leave a comment or ask questions or anything like that. So what we're going to do, we have not received any to date. I know we started actually the first week of September, but if we do, we'll make sure we put it on the weekly comms document so you can see any questions or comments that were left through the Talk to Us. But as well as Mr. Toscano will have it in his superintendent's report at the regular board meeting, that you'll have access to any of and all those comments as well that have just occurred over the last month.
So if they click to send a comment to a board member, that still goes to y'all?
Yes.
And then you get it to us?
And then we get it to y'all.
And
You'll
do
get it.
they know that? I'm just asking because, like, what if they don't want him to read it? And they want one of us to read it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's, well,
Do they,
I think
like,
we-
do they know where it goes? Do they think it comes straight to us?
Yeah.
I mean, I know we'll get it.
So this is-
Because they don't have a problem looking up our emails.
Well, yeah, so we still have all those options. This is, the intent of this is to say, some parents work and they can't get to a meeting to deliver public comments, which would be publicly communicated to me or staff or y'all or everyone. So this is just saying that if you can't come to a meeting, you have to provide people a way to submit a comment to the board.
So you're gonna say the comments that are posted during your superintendent's report?
No.
That's not part of the law. We just have to make sure that the board,
You receive it?
that people have access to send something to the board.
Okay.
And so what we'll do is every time we get them, that week we'll put them on your board hub weekly communication. And so you'll see them during the week that we get them, you'll get them. What I have to do every month is just refer that the board, we had 5 comments this month. And then I'll say, as you guys received in your weekly communication, you need more information or have questions, let them know. That's it. I don't have to read them.
No.
And by law, I'm not obligated to do
Because
that.
it's not a public comment. Because
Correct.
there is that aspect. We don't have it. Do we have it to submit public comment?
Yeah, well, when we get to 10,
Online?
no. Let's go ahead.
Oh, I said, we don't have it online.
No, there isn't.
Is that a requirement?
You
Some
said-
districts do.
Yeah.
You have to submit it online by a certain time and
Yeah.
then still sign up again, but
Yeah, so.
But
two
that's
di-
not required.
No,
Okay.
two different things. This one's just to give them access. That process is an option the board can always have as a requirement for public comments. You could require, as opposed to coming up here and signing up on the spot, the board could choose to say, if you want to do that, then you have to submit online in
yeah, because
advance.
if they get mad during the day,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm gonna storm.
So that's separate. The
Yeah.
board always has discretion to implement a process like that. At any point you guys feel like it would be beneficial. This is, we just have to comply with, the public has to have a way, if they can't make it to a meeting, to make comments that get to the board. And our way of doing it is going to be through the Talk to Us tab, and then immediately posting that on y'all's weekly communication. So every week, if there were any, you got them in real time. Every month, I'll just refer to the number of them that we had this month. And then you guys need more information, you let me know.
Number 10 is just about when we're already in compliance, that public comments have to be at the beginning of the meeting. So we already meet after we do awards and recognitions. You know, we typically then go into a break, and right after that, we have public comments. So we're in compliance. Number 11, that you will hold your regular board meetings outside of the typical work hours. We're already in compliance. We don't know when our board meetings are. So we're, you know, other than when we have,
Work hours.
they say 8 to 5.
8 to 5.
Yeah, that's what they generalized in the literature that we received. Number 12 is a common practice for us, and all it basically means that if a child has had a criminal offense committed against them, that we have to notify the parents within 24 hours. We're notifying them right then and there. We're not waiting. It's an administrative practice. I don't understand why they even have this in here. Why would you not want to contact the parent of a child who's been the victim of a crime that may have been committed on the campus? So they're just putting it in here. They're codifying it right, and we have to notify parents if there was some kind of crime committed against the student. Much like earlier, that's going to go from TASB as a part of the model employee handbook. We're going to be adding number 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. You can all see employee, 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 no employee, employee. You see that word employee all in there, so that's why it's going to be a part of our model handbook. I'll just also say on all of those, we do not condone, nor has any of these things been allowed ever in our district as well. So it's just, again, just putting things in writing that we won't, that we're not prohibited from providing parents with information regarding students' mental, emotional, physical health, or well-being, or if there's any changes in services. We're always going to make sure that the parents are aware of that. That it says no employee will encourage on 14 to have the effect or encourages students to withhold from students' parent information. That is definitely nothing we would condone or we would tolerate or allow in our district. Number 15, employees are not discouraged to prohibit parental knowledge or involvement in critical decisions affecting the student's mental, emotional, physical health, and well-being. Again, that is not something we would consent to. Unless authorized by law, no employee may disclose a child's health, medical information, or any person other than the parent's child. That's a HIPAA, a FERPA violation. We do a whole lot of training around that, so we do not release any health information or student information unless authorized by the parent of the child. And then number 17, unless authorized by law, no employee may contact, use, or store, or disclose any person other than the child's parent, a child's biometric identifiers. Don't know why we would have a child's biometric identifiers, but I guess they're making sure that we don't share it if we do have it. Any questions about 13 through 17?
Yeah, so to restate, those are all things that we are in compliance with, but we're gonna put it in writing in the employee handbook, because that's always the next question. When you say you don't do it, but where is it in writing? We're gonna have both, because it's not currently in writing, explicitly matching the statutory requirements. We're working on that for all of those.
Number 18 is a little bit redundant because it goes back to not providing healthcare services or medication or conduct medical procedures to a student unless you're authorized. We sent the consent forms out, and we're working through that process, and so we feel like we're in a really good place. As you're very well aware too, a big part of Central 12 is the grievance process. With guidance from our legal counsel, they say our grievance process is incredibly thorough, timelines are tight, processes are sharp. There's no need for us to make any adjustments to the ones that are inside of Senate Bill 12. So we will be going to the DEIC soon for District of Innovation, saying that the board policy that we've already stood up and it's been very effective for years to come is what we would still recommend. DEIC, if they do accept it, will be bringing it back to you guys for adoption, and we'll just continue with our normal grievance process and not using the one that's about, I think, 8.5 to 9 pages of the Senate bill. How much of the space they took up with the 61 is all just grievances. If you guys
y'all feel like I've got a pretty good handle on what the difference is or why?
So I didn't know if there was anything grievance related.
Yeah. So let me kind of talk a little bit about it. So the new policy, the new law is saying if there is a complaint, then it has to, let's just say it's at campus, then it has to be heard by the principal first.
You're saying this is current or this is the new?
This is what's in law.
Okay.
And then I'll tell you, and then I'll read, and I'll talk about what's current. So they're just mandating that the first first level complaint has to be the principal, unless they're named in it, right? A second one, then it needs to be passed along to the central administration level. Third level goes to the superintendent or his designee. Then the fourth level goes to the board. Okay. Currently, our level one is always handled at the lowest level, but it depends on the context. If it's in a school and it's not named the principal, it's always the principal. If they're not happy and they agree to level two, then we usually move it to somebody at the district level, and it depends on the nature of the complaint. If it's a curriculum and instruction complaint, we usually move it to central administration that direction. If it's a personnel matter, we'll move it that direction. But it does go to the central administration level. Level three always goes to the board. This would stretch these timelines out a lot longer. It also would say that instead of 15 days after the incident, that's the window currently, you have, I think, up to 60
and then up to 90.
and then up to 90. So we just feel like our process is pretty comprehensive, pretty thorough. By the time it ever makes it to a level three, we're 3 months into this work at multiple levels. The new law would stretch things out a half a year. And 3 levels before it got to the board.
Yeah, but the end of the year, next year, what if they're senior?
Yeah. So legal guidance is basically saying if your process is similar enough but comprehensive enough and working, and you have a district of innovation designation, which we do, you can just amend your district of innovation to say basically your current policy for complaints and grievances is the policy that we want to continue using.
And they
so,
said that we have to wait for them to agree to that?
So basically the process is you have to take it to your DEIC and say, this is what we want to do and why. 2/3 of the DEIC has to say, yeah, we agree. And then we bring it to the board and make a recommendation, and then the board has to approve it.
Because the bill is parents' rights, so if they're saying that they want it stretched out, are we gonna get it?
Yeah, so if we take it to the DEIC and they say, no, actually, we want it stretched out, because that committee is a representative committee of parents, students, staff, everybody. So if they don't approve it with a 2/3 majority, and it doesn't come to the board, we have to adopt the statutory requirement. So that's kind of the path, because the only way you can circumvent the new law here, and it's totally appropriate, is through the District of Innovation designation. And the only way you can amend that District of Innovation, anything in there, is you have to take it to the DEIC for 2/3 vote. So as long as they are in agreement to what we'll be recommending, then it comes back to you guys to consider final
And
approval.
with it being included in here, it's your resolution according to what we're seeing that we want you to sign off on, so they already know that they have.
Yeah,
that
we're
you're
basically saying we're going to comply with the law by either doing the grievance policy through the DOI amendment and doing what we've been doing, that's complying with the law, or if the DEIC doesn't
They say no,
agree,
then we
then
just-
complying with the law means we're going to adopt a new grievance policy that's going to follow the new timelines. So our hope is the DEIC approves, we bring it to you guys agree, and we just keep doing what we've been doing. That's
And
it.
that would satisfy the law.
That would
Yes.
satisfy the law.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It is, and he says in statute that the District of Innovation could cover that, so we'd be okay. And I think just to double click a little bit on what Mr. Toscano said, one of the biggest differences between what is they proposing and or what's in Senate Bill 12 is you talked about the incident, and then the parent or whoever it is has 15 days before, and then they have to submit their grievance from the day of the incident. They have 15 days. They now have 60 days, and depending on the level of the incident, they can actually have up to 90 days before they even file. So you're talking about something that happened possibly 3 months ago, that they're bringing it back up about, and now they want to follow the process, and now you have these 4 additional layers. So I think that's where Mr. Toscano is driving home, is that even our legal says that that is not reasonable, and it's an extensive burden of time, effort,
There
and
is one
energy.
other piece legal did say. Currently, if you file a complaint on one thing and you don't like it and you appeal it, at the next level, you can't add to your complaint. What was the complaint? That complaint is what you see through the entire process. This new statute allows you to change your complaint
And
all
add.
along the way.
You can add.
So not only can you stretch it out, you can convolute it even more all along the way.
Oh, I remembered this happened.
Yeah,
also,
oh yeah,
or-
and oh, I got more witnesses, you got to interview me, I want you to look into this now. So anyway, we just strongly feel like our process is pretty tight.
Agreed.
It's pretty thorough, it does do its due diligence, it provides due process for everybody involved, it gets all the right people involved all along the way. And so it would be very inefficient and less effective to adopt the new statutory requirements. So for us, the best path to consider is DOI amendment, to let us stick with current policy. So that's the path. So more to come. We're going to get with the DEIC and go through the first phase, and then bring it back to you guys.
Number 20 is around human sexuality instruction, and that you must have written consent from the parent before it can be done. That has already been a compliance piece of ours that we've done for years, is we do get written consent from the parent. So any of our health classes or courses that require human sexuality training, know that the state of Texas' stance and the curriculum that we have used in the past is all an abstinence-based curriculum anyway. So just be really kind of clear on that, but we're already in compliance with that. That's something that's been a normal practice of ours. 21 is another one of those that we will put in the employee handbook, so we have it codified in writing with the expectations that no employment provider, third party provide instruction, guidance, activities regarding sexual orientation, gender identity, our students from pre-K through grade 12. So again, this also is not something that's been accomplished. It's not a practice of ours. So we're already in compliance with this, but we're going to codify it and make sure that we put it in writing. Each parent will be provided at least 2 opportunities for in-person conferences with the child's teacher during each school year. Just kind of want to level set. We always have a staff development day on October 13th. That's intentional because that's to allow that week that the teachers, particularly at the elementary levels, but we encourage all the secondary levels to, if necessary, we set up a parent-teacher conference. And then our teachers have been really good about always making sure that if there's any concerns that come up or throughout the year, reaching out to the parents to know that they can have a parent, they would like to have a parent-teacher conference or let's meet together. So we comply with this regardless that there is multiple opportunities to beyond 2 if even the parent requests to have a conference with the teacher. That's never a problem, but we have something already in process where we do that week of October 13th across the district, and then anytime necessarily after that. 23, no student club or authorized sponsor of the district may be based on sexual orientation or gender identity. We are working with legal counsel on this because we're not certain if the authors of the bill intended for it to be like this, but we do have clubs like Boy Scouts, we have Girl Scouts, we have Girls Inc., and we're trying to get clarity from them. Is that what the author of the bill really meant? Is that you can't have Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts in schools? And we know how, they leadership training and life skills that they learn through these different clubs. So we're working with legal on that, on what that needs to look like, and our attorneys have said they're going to get us some written language around that to verify. So it may be an additional consent form from a parent possibly, but I just wanted to be clear with you guys. Our legal says they don't even believe that was what the author's intent was, not to allow kids to do Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts after school on our campuses. But because the way it's written, it says, sorry, it's got the word girls in it. It's got the word boys in it. That's a gender identity, so you can't do it.
Right. I
So
think the theme though is taking out the DEI and.
yes.
So I think that would be okay, but you're right, I mean, can never be.
We'll make sure we're in compliance with this. We'll continue to work with our attorneys when they give us more. And Mr. Toscano said this too. I think the big thing is there's so many bills that have impacted public schools that it's taking all of the groups that we work with just extra time to really unpack it. So that's part of the reason why we're constantly reaching back out to legal, because it just seems to have these multiple layers like this one that we've got to get more guidance on. With parental consent, before a student may participate in any student clubs are authorized to sponsor the district campus. So what we've done this year, what that basically says is that for any student participating in clubs or organizations, extracurricular activities after school, they have to have parent consent. In our parent-student handbook, we have a clause in there that says by signing and agreeing to this parent-student handbook, we agree to allow our child to participate in any after-school clubs or organizations, unless I provide written notice to the principal or campus administration that I wish for my child not to participate. So we're already covered, because when they do their enrollment, they sign for the parent handbook. It's already in our parent handbook. We check with legal. We're actually good to continue to do that. Obviously, we've got like the clause that's before there, if we have any clubs that may be in question, we may provide additional written consent to the parent to make sure that they feel comfortable with that, especially like if they want to do Boy Scouts. We want to make sure they're comfortable with that. And then the last one, as Mr. Toscano talked about, is that we'll just have to make sure that we make this public once we get to that point. Be happy to answer any other questions about Senate Bill 12. This is
So again, if this is something we bring as an action item, or in consent as an action item, next week, it's basically a resolution that is acknowledging the law. It's acknowledging that you guys are accepting my commitment to adhering to the law, and that you as a board are gonna expect me to adhere to this law, and that adhering to the law might take a little time in some cases to amend policy, handbooks, because we're waiting on legal guidance and TA guidance, NASB guidance, et cetera. So that's all the resolution's doing, is meeting this September 30th commitment requirement, certification requirement that we're gonna follow the law.
I think the only thing that I would add is we might need this outside of the consent agenda just because of the optics, if you will.
Well, then, this is recorded, so public
No doubt.
communication is codified, to your point. So he was saying this is optics wise, public facing, like we want the public to know about this. If you put it in consent, we don't generally talk about it at the regular meeting, but kind of, I think we're all realizing is this is a public meeting, this is a public conversation. True. Yeah, so we talk about it today, and then we talk about it for 30 minutes Thursday. It might not have the efficiencies that we were talking about.
And it's our board meeting, that's my point. Like, we do the business, we get all the information, we have to make a decision that's tied to us. So as long as we're satisfied and we have the information, if anybody has questions about it, they should watch and be here.
Anything else? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion from Ms. Friedman, do I have a second? Second from Mr. Gerhart. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Workshop's adjourned.